the spirit always restless, find it in each mind and heart. Touch and hold that ancient yearning, kindling for a new-found truth. Stand we now upon the threshold, facing futures yet unknown. Earth behind us, wayside hostel, built by those who knew wild roads. God, we are their sacred embers, carried in our minds and hearts. Good morning and welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Ann Arbor, Michigan. Whether you're joining us here in person in our sanctuary, or live streaming from home or somewhere else right now at this very moment, or choosing to watch on demand at a later time this week or in the days ahead, we are delighted that you've chosen to be together with one another and with us here in community. Our congregation is a liberal, progressive community that has been meeting continuously week after week since 1865, bringing alive Unitarian Universalism's vision of a beloved community with dignity, equality, inclusivity for all here in Ann Arbor and in our wider world ever since. I'm the Reverend Manish Mishra-Marzetti, serving our community as senior minister, and alongside me in today's service are Reverend Cassie Hartley, our community's executive minister, Carter Smith, our acting director of music ministries, Allison Halerz, our pianist-in-residence, and Mike Halerz, our technological consultant to the staff team. We're especially delighted that this Sunday we have a guest with us, New York Times best-selling author, poet, frequent guest on what had been Oprah's Super Soul Sunday show, Mark Nepo. We're just delighted that Mark's with us this Sunday. Mark, thank you for being with us. If you are a newcomer to our community and are with us in our sanctuary in person this morning, at the conclusion of our service, as you exit those double doors, to your second right after you leave is a room called the Jackson Chapel, and in that space will be individuals from our community who will be available to answer any questions you may have and help orient you to both Unitarian Universalism and our community as is helpful. If you are live streaming and you are newer to our community, first, second time with us, we invite you to take a moment and introduce yourself through the chat, who you are, maybe where you're from. We have chat hosts who will greet you, as well as longer-term friends and members of our community who I fully would expect would extend a warm welcome to you as well. We're delighted you're with us. If you're watching on demand later this week, we encourage you to feel free to contact our coordinator of welcoming ministries, Hannah Hotchkiss, at hannah@uuaa.org. In addition, on the homepage of our website, we have a brief survey for visitors and newcomers. If you could take a moment to look at that and fill that out, it'll help us connect you with appropriate groups and other individuals in our community that'll help you, support you in getting oriented and welcomed in a good way into our congregational family. This Sunday's theme, we're going to be moving more deeply together over this time around the theme of heart work. Heart, H-E-R-T, heart work. And what does it mean to fully occupy with depth and authenticity that deeper space, both for ourselves and in our relationships and connections with one another and the wider world. A couple of announcements as we deepen this time as we move forward together today. Some of you may have seen in electronic communications from our community over the past week, we are engaging in a process of assessment and discernment related to the two acting director positions that our congregation currently has. One is the acting director of music ministries, and the other is the acting director of spiritual growth and development. Both these processes are being undertaken with the full awareness and support of the two staff members that are holding acting titles. What we're seeking to do now, while the senior minister has full authority over all hiring, retention, these types of decisions, we want to move forward in a way that includes our community's thoughts and input. And as part of that, we have many ways forward in how we might move forward in either keeping the positions either acting or making them permanent or potentially engaging in larger search processes. How we move forward with these positions, we want to factor in our community's thoughts and reflections in a good way. This is the opportunity to participate. We have a group called the UUAA Personnel Working Group, and a member of that group, Lee Robertson, is helping us engage in this assessment process, this critical time to include your thoughts and your feedback. The first session will be on March 1st at 10:30 in the morning. That will be regarding music, our music program, and the acting directorship of that. The second will be on March 23rd at 7 p.m. That will be about the acting director of spiritual growth and development and how that program and that work is going. I want to encourage you, please, if you think that both acting directors have been doing a fantastic job, you're in love with them, please don't assume that these are the individuals that will permanently be in the role. And in a similar way, if you've been thinking, I've got these concerns, I haven't articulated them, or questions, I assume they'll get worked out in some larger search process, please also don't assume that. That may not happen. We might retain the individuals that are currently in their jobs. So this is it. This is the opportunity to participate. We welcome your participation. Both acting directors also welcome your participation. You can also write independently to Lee Robertson if the public feedback opportunities don't work for you timing-wise. You can reach out directly to Lee. All that contact information is in our existing electronic communications, and it will be included in upcoming communications as well. I've mentioned how joyous and fortunate we are to be able to host Mark Nepo with us this Sunday. This is directly possible because of a fund that exists in our community known as the Klein Fund, and I want to tell you a little bit about this fund. The Klein Fund honors the memory of Robert and Ruth Klein, who were dedicated congregants here in our community. It was established through their generous contributions as well as the contributions of their friends and family members. This fund exists specifically to support programs and talks and Sunday services that support spiritual growth and development in service to building a world of greater inner peace as well as greater outer peace, among other purposes. So you can already kind of get a feeling that Mark being with us is totally in alignment with the purposes of this fund. And it's such a beautiful thing for us because what it allows us to do is bring high caliber, high quality speakers, presenters to Ann Arbor without needing to charge the outside community anything to be able to attend the programs or the presentations. It's a gift. It's a gift of ministry to the wider world that we're able to do this. The Klein Fund is not an endowed fund, meaning that it exists in perpetuity. It exists, it's a fund that exists through replenishment. So what that means is it's our community members and friends who continue to donate to this fund allow us to have the opportunity to bring talented, skillful, inspiring speakers such as Mark to our town. I hope that you will feel after today's service, or if you attended yesterday's workshop, that this is a worthy and beautiful thing that our community is able to do. We encourage you in support of the Klein Fund at some point later today when you get a chance, go to uuaa.org/giving. From that page, you can make a donation to the Klein Fund. It's one of the drop-down choices. Any donation of $50 or greater, we're going to, with great joy, for the first 25 people who make a donation of $50 or greater, we're going to gift you one of Mark's books, Things That Join the Sea and the Sky, one of my favorite of his books. And if you happen to be here in person today, if you make that donation this morning, you can get him to autograph the book as an extra bonus. So with these, in addition, for if you happen to already know Mark was going to be with us and you brought from home copies of a book that you may have, Mark will be available in the social hall shortly after the service to autograph and sign any books that you may have brought with you. And I also want to just extend, and please join me in offering this, a word of real deep appreciation and gratitude to one of our key volunteers, Margie Teal, who has essentially been kind of the lay project manager, logistical manager for everything related to Mark's visit. Margie's dedication and efforts have directly contributed to our being able to host Mark in such a good way. Please join me in thanking her as well. Now let us deepen our time together as we move more fully into this theme of heart work and our humanness in that.
Each week, we begin our time together by lighting our chalice. Our chalice is a reminder of our connections to one another in this community, our connections to Unitarian Universalists all around the world who are lighting their own chalices this morning, and our connections to our living tradition, going back generations. So I'd like to invite forward Carter to light our chalice. And as he kindles the flame, I invite you to join me in our chalice lighting words. Together, let us say, "We light this chalice for the light of truth. We light this chalice for the warmth of love. We light this chalice for the energy of action. We light this chalice for the harmony of peace." Thank you, Carter. Another way that we begin our time together each week is by saying the words of our covenant. As Unitarian Universalists, we are not bound together by one single belief, one credo, but by the promises we make to one another about how we will be together. So whether you have these words memorized or whether you are saying them for the first time, please join me in saying, "The spirit of this church is love, and service is its law. This is our covenant with each other, to dwell together in peace, to search for truth in love, and to help one another." This morning, as we explore the topic of heart work, I want to share a book called What the Road Said, written by Cleo Wade, illustrated by Lucy de Moyencourt, that explores this in a unique way. Have you ever wanted to go in a different direction? Have you ever wondered if there was something more, something out there, something just different? I did too. Then one day I was walking my usual way home when, out of nowhere, for no reason at all, almost as if it were magic, a road appeared. I could not believe my eyes. So I walked over to it and I said to the road, "Where do you lead?" The road said, "Be a leader and find out." "How do I start?" I asked. The road smiled and said, "You have already started." "Well, what happens when I get there?" "We have just begun," said the road. "Don't skip straight to the ending. Enjoy the beginning and the middle, too." "Which way do I go?" "That is your choice to make," said the road. "But what if I go the wrong way?" The road curved a little, almost as if it was giving me a hug, and said, "Do not worry. Sometimes we go the wrong way on our way to the right way." "What if I get scared?" "That is okay," said the road. "You are brave." "But what does it mean to be brave?" The road guided me through a very gloomy forest. Even though I was frightened, I trusted the road. And as I took one step and then another step, after that, the road gently whispered, "Being brave is when you are afraid of doing something, but you do it anyway. Do not let what scares you keep you from continuing on your path. Will I always move forward? Not always, said the road. Why not? Because sometimes you will stumble backward, and sometimes you will stand still. What if I fall? Everyone falls at some point, said the road, but I will always be there when you land. What if I get lost? There may be some days that feel long and dark, said the road, but I promise that no matter what, I will give you the evening stars and the morning sun to light your way. What if I grow weary or get hurt? I will give you trees of all shapes and sizes to shelter you when you need to rest and heal, said the road. What if I get lonely? You are never alone, said the road. What if I change? Come with me, said the road. And as I moved forward, the road introduced me to a caterpillar and a family of seeds. We did not stay long. The road began taking me on a journey through all the seasons. I watched summer turn to fall and fall turn to winter, and as spring was upon us, I realized we had gone in one big, beautiful circle. I looked down and found I was standing in front of the caterpillar and the seeds once more. Only the caterpillar was no longer a caterpillar, and the seeds had turned to flowers of every color, swaying in the sun. The road then raised me up and said, "All things grow and change. That is the magic of being alive. You too will find your wings. You too will bloom. No living thing is meant to stay the same." What if I need help on my journey? Ask your fellow travelers along the way. What if they are mean to me? Lead them to kindness, said the road. How? By being kind. What if they want to fight? Lead them to peace, said the road. But how do I lead them to peace? By listening to their stories, telling them yours, and reminding them that you are all on this journey together. What if the world around us is filled with hate? Lead it to love. How? By sharing the power of your love with it, said the road. What if something unexpected happens? Keep going. What if there are mountains that feel too tall to climb? What if there are rivers that feel too wide to cross? What if I get my heart broken? What if I feel stuck? What if giving up is just easier? Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, said the road. What if I can't do it? You can, said the road. How do you know? Because you have come this far, said the road. I said to the road, "Where do you lead?" And the road said, "Be a leader and find out." The end. We are all traveling on our own roads. And yet, as this beautiful book reminds us, we are never alone. When we come together, we can not only find the support we need for the journey, we can also find a better way forward together. In our community, we strive to do this in many ways, including through the work of our social justice groups. Each month, we feature the work of one of these wonderful groups as part of our social justice connection. So please join me in welcoming to our pulpit virtually Cheryl Valentine and Kathy McLean, the leaders of this month's group, the Immigration Action Coalition.
Well, hello, Cheryl. How's things going for you these days?
Hi, Kathy. Well, everything's going pretty good, but I get frustrated by the world situation, the craziness out there, the politics and the climate change and violence in the schools. It's just every time I turn on the news, it's something new, and I feel like there's just nothing that I can do to change things.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean, Cheryl. The last couple of years have been really tough for a lot of us. It's easy to feel discouraged and overwhelmed and powerless. But if we can each just show a bit of kindness to each other, that makes a difference. And even better is if we join together with others and we can make a bigger difference. And that's one of the things I like best about our UUAA community is that we can join with others and make a difference in areas of social justice.
Oh, I agree with you completely. It's one thing that I love about our UUAA community as well. But I've been feeling kind of disconnected from the church. I've been attending virtual services and I haven't been able to gather with some of the groups that I usually really like to participate with. And so I feel like I don't really know what's going on these days.
Well, then maybe you haven't heard about one of the latest opportunities that we're providing to live into our values. UUA was invited by Jewish Family Services to help co-sponsor a refugee family moving to our area to help them get resettled. And we just got our co-sponsorship application approved. And this means that we are able to help a family fleeing from injustice and help them adjust to life in our community and to eventually be self-sustaining.
You know what, Kathy? I have heard a little bit about that. I guess I heard that they were looking for volunteers to help with things like affordable housing and applying for jobs, volunteers to help people find their way around town and get acclimated. But it seems like that I heard the family was going to be from Afghanistan.
Well, initially that was our plan, and that was why we put things together so quickly. But then our government had set a deadline of mid-February to get all the Afghan refugees resettled. And this last batch that are coming just don't fit the criteria for this co-sponsorship. A family is too big to fit into a 2-bedroom apartment, or in the last bit here, they're going to be single people who don't need all the services that we have to offer.
Well, I understand that Jewish Family Services are the only refugee settlement agency in Washtenaw County, and that they handle refugees coming in and asylum seekers from all parts of the world. Is there a possibility that we might be able to help a family from somewhere else?
Oh, very probably, but timing can be a little uncertain. Our best guess now is that we will get matched with a family by early March.
That early? My gosh.
Yes. So, and I was also very surprised to find out, Cheryl, that Jewish Family Services often doesn't get very much advance notice of when a family is going to be sent here. So sometimes they get as much as a couple weeks notice, but sometimes they get a call and saying 3-4 hours from now, this family is arriving at your airport and you need to be ready to help them. The good news is that UUAA is now ready to help a family. And our co-sponsorship is approved, the volunteers have been trained and vetted, and committees know what their assignments are.
Kathy, that's fabulous. I would really like to be able to do something to help with this program, but I haven't been leaving the house much because of COVID. Is there any way that I can do things from home to help welcome this family?
Oh, absolutely, Cheryl. There's several things that can be done. Quite a few things can be done, from home. The Housing Committee has put up a sign-up genius on the website where you can volunteer to donate gently used furniture or fresh linens, things that the family will need in their apartment. And after we know the actual size and makeup of the family that we get partnered with, then we'll know more their needs. Do they need winter clothing? What kind of a translator would we need to find? That sort of thing. But there are some other volunteer opportunities, like being a conversation partner, where they've been redesigned so that you can do it virtually from your home.
Oh, that sounds like it would be an interesting way to contribute. I'm going to go to the UUAA.org website and look at the Sign Up Genius and watch for updates.
That's great, Cheryl. I hope to see you again soon.
Thanks for telling me all about it, Kathy.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Kathy and Cheryl. Our offering today will also go to support the work of Immigration Action Coalition. As you heard a little bit already, IAC collaborates with local and national immigrant-led organizations to support the immigrant community's needs. Recently, that has included supporting local individuals in crisis due to the pandemic, the health sanctuary guest housed at the Ann Arbor Friends Meeting House, among other projects. The group thanks everyone for the well wishes and collaboration in their newest effort, as you just heard about. If you'd like to give to support these efforts and others, you can text 73256 to UUAA, and you can select IAC's Family Resettlement Support Fund from the drop-down box. You can also go to uuaa.org/giving, or of course you can always leave cash and checks in the baskets as you exit. However you give, thank you for your generosity and for helping us all to bring love alive in the world. I invite you to join me in body or in spirit by rising together and repeating the words of our dedication. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives, and these are offerings. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. It's wonderful to be with you this weekend. I'll be sharing more in a little bit, but I'd like to offer a poem of mine right now called Earth Prayer. O endless creator, force of life, seat of the unconscious, Dharma, Atman, Ra, Kalb, dear center of our love, Christ light, Yahweh, Allah, Mawu, Mother of the universe. Let us, when swimming with the stream, become the stream. Let us, when moving with the music, become the music. Let us, when rocking the wounded, become the suffering. Let us live deep enough till there is only one direction, and slow enough till there is only the beginning of time, and loud enough in our hearts till there is no need to speak. Let us live for the grace beneath all we want. Let us see it in everything and everyone till we admit to the mystery that when I look deep enough into you, I find me. And when you dare to hear my fear in the recess of your heart, well, you recognize it as your secret, which you thought no one else knew. Oh, let us embrace that unexpected moment of unity as the atom of God. Let us have the courage to hold each other when we break and worship what unfolds. O nameless spirit that is not done with us, let us love without a net, beyond the fear of death, until the speck of peace we guard so well becomes the world.
As we continue finding our way to that deeper stillness, that deeper resting place at which wisdom and love resides, I want to invite us into a few minutes of shared reflective practice, meditation practice, quiet stillness, whatever languaging or framing works for you for that. But a few minutes of going deeper into ourselves, into our deeper ground of being. The one teaching I might offer in support of that today would be just to notice that I don't know of any meditative practice or any practice like that where the mind turns off. It doesn't turn off. It's always with us. And so what we can do is just pay attention a little bit to how we're in relationship with the mind in a moment of intentional stillness seeking. Typically in our day-to-day lives, a thought comes up and we follow the thought automatically from A to B to C to something else. So another tangent. Try just to let thoughts arise, notice them without necessarily following them. Notice and let go. Release it, let it drift wherever it drifts. Something else will arise. Notice it, release it, let it drift. Through the noticing and not following, not being attached, we can just find things will settle a little bit, settle just a little bit deeper. In support of that, I now invite you. Would you join me in a few moments of stillness, reflective practice, and meditative practice?
So again, it's wonderful to be with you today, this weekend. I'm going to move around a bit. I'll not be behind this thing. And so I want to start with by saying a word or two about where we are these days. You know, I'm a long-term cancer survivor in my 30s. I almost died from a rare form of lymphoma. And I was surprised, maybe some of you experienced this too, but when the pandemic started, I was something in me got thrown back emotionally to that time. And I started to think about, specifically for me, when I was diagnosed, I had a tumor growing in my skull, quite large, and I went to the doctor who told me that I had cancer, and I was, terrified and thought, you must have the wrong folder, you got the wrong guy. But that day, when I left that appointment, the door I had come through to keep that appointment was gone. There was no way back to life before that moment. And I think that that's what the pandemic has done to all of us, to humanity. Try as we will, we want things to be normal again. The old world is gone. Oh, there'll be some things that look similar, but it's gone. And until we help each other grieve that loss and accept it, the only way is to love our way forward together. The other thing that I want to share as we begin is really a lesson that comes from the great redwood trees out in California. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to see them in person. They're magnificent. They're enormous. Enormous. Some of them are almost 1,000 years old. They're 200-300 feet high, so wide. And so, with climate change, maybe one of them could be uprooted in some severe storm, but I doubt it. It might be damaged. But the reason they're not uprooted most of the time is because their roots are deep and their trunks are wide. And that's why we need spiritual practice, to deepen our roots and widen our trunk, so that we can endure the storms of our time. And there's one other lesson that comes from trees, and this comes from aspen groves. I don't know if any of you ever had a chance to be in an aspen grove. I was once in one outside of Santa Fe, New Mexico, and acres and acres, all these beautiful individual trees above ground. But the remarkable thing with aspen groves is that underground, it's one root system. And so an aspen grove is actually one of the largest single living organisms on Earth. And that's a great metaphor for community and our own individual growth and community, because we're individual trees. We have our own lives and dreams and troubles. But underground, in the ground of spirit, we all have the same root system. So we need to care about each other's roots. Because if my roots are diseased, you need to be concerned, because they're your roots too. So given all this, I want to speak a little bit about the heart work that's required to be a spirit in the world. And I believe that that requires us being present and open-hearted and kind. And I think that there are three kind of spiritual resources that are always available. They always have been. They're kind of equivalent. We think of, earth, fire, air, and water as elements. Well, these are spiritual elements, and they are presence, meaning, and relationship. They're not abstract. They're like element. Each of us has to have some connection to spirit, to presence, to meaning, and relationship. And I want to tell a story about each here to help bring it to how it might live in your life. So the first thing, presence is how we directly experience life. Nothing's in the way. And, being human, we drift from it, or I may be present, and then I trip taking the garbage out, forget presence, then I hurt my toe, then, on and on. But then I recover. This is the practice of return, of recovering my direct connection to life. But there's a paradox here, because if I'm only left with my experience, well, life's a lot more than just what I experience. And we'll get to that. That's what meaning is. Meaning is how I can listen and understand and feel your presence and you mine. But with presence, I want to tell, there's a story that about Buddha, that a student once asked him, how rare is it to be born in human form? And Buddha said, well, imagine a giant sea turtle asleep at the bottom of the ocean. It wakes, comes up, and it breaks surface. And then it goes back down, falls asleep again. Nobody knows exactly how long. And Buddha said the odds of that turtle breaking surface in the same exact spot twice, that's how rare it is to be born in human form. Wow. So I want to read a piece from my book, The Book of Awakening. It's the opening entry. That's about this notion of our precious human birth, of how rare it is to be born as a human at all. There is a Buddhist precept that asks us to be mindful of how rare it is to find ourselves in human form on earth. It's really a beautiful view of life that offers us the chance to feel enormous appreciation for the fact that we're here at all, as individual spirits filled with consciousness, drinking water, paying the bills, chopping wood, doing the laundry. It asks us to look about at the ant and the antelope, at the worm and the butterfly, at the dog and the bull, at the hawk and the lonely tiger, at the 100-year-old oak and 1,000-year-old patch of ocean. It asks us to understand that no other life form has the consciousness of being that we are privileged to. It asks us to recognize that of all the plants and minerals and animals that make up the earth, a very small portion of life has the wakefulness of spirit that we call being human. They might have their own consciousness. We don't speak plant or mineral, or not all the time. We think we do. But what being human is unique, and that I can rise from some depth of awareness to express this to you now, and that you can receive me in this moment, is part of our precious human birth. You could have been an ant. I could have been an anteater. You could have been rain. I could have been a lick of salt. But we are blessed in this time and this place to be human beings, alive in rare ways we often take for granted. All of this to say, this precious human birth is unrepeatable. So what will you do today, knowing you are one of the rarest forms of life to ever walk the earth? How will you carry yourself? What will you do with your hands? What will you ask, and of whom? Tomorrow you could die and become an ant, and someone will be setting traps for you. But today you are precious and rare and awake. It ushers us into grateful living. It makes hesitation useless. Grateful and awake, ask what you need to know now. Say what you feel now. Love what you love now. So it's incredible that we are here at all, and presence helps us remember how rare it is to be here. We all have these moments. Doing things, ordinary things at home, and all of a sudden I have one of these moments, and I going to my wife Susan, it's amazing we're here. And you go, are you all right? Is everything okay? Yeah, it's just amazing to be here. Okay, did you take the garbage out today? Yeah, I will, happily, today. But again, as I said, so presence is wonderful, and I recover my own sense of what it is to be alive. But life is so much more than just what I experience. And that's where meaning comes in. Because meaning is the bridge between your presence and my presence. Meaning is the bridge that opens up the heart, where I can feel you and you me. So I want to share a story about meaning. This is from my book, The One Life We're Given. Just a couple of paragraphs of story. A troubled widower made his way to ask a wise old woman about his troubles. The old woman received him, and they walked along a stream. She could see the pain in his face. He began to tremble as he asked, "What's the point? Is there any meaning to all of this?" She invited him to sit on a large stone near the stream. She took a long branch and she swirled it in the water and then replied, "Well, it all depends on what it means to you to be alive." In his sorrow, the man dropped his shoulders, and the old woman gave him the branch. "Go on," she said, "touch the branch to the water." And as he poked the branch in the running stream, there was something comforting about feeling the movement of the water in his hand through the branch. She touched his hand and said, "You see, that you can feel the water without putting your hand in the water. This is what meaning feels like." The man grew tender but still seemed puzzled, and she said, "Close your eyes and now feel your wife who is gone, that you can feel her in your heart without being able to touch her. This is how meaning saves us." The widower began to cry. The old woman put her arm around him and said, "No one knows how to love and how to die. No one knows how to live. We only know how to love and lose and how to pick up branches of meaning along the way." So meaning is this remarkable thing that connects us when we can be present. These are not abstract things. What is your relationship with presence? What is your relationship with meaning? So the thing that holds it all together is relationship. So I want to tell a story about relationship, and this comes from a creation myth. I live down the road in Kalamazoo, and in Kalamazoo I learned, since living there, I've been there about 20 years, but I did learn that the Native American population there before us was the Ojibwe Nation. And like many indigenous cultures, they don't have one creation myth. They have a constellation of creation myths. And this is one of them from the Ojibwe Nation, and it's about the work of the worm. So the Great Spirit, after creating all the things in the universe, was thinking about, how am I going to connect everything? When a little worm inched over and said, "I can help." So the Great Spirit was pleased. He said, "Very well, little worm, help us." So the worm, industrious little worm, went about, and sure enough, slowly inching, squirming, spinning, it began to spin barely seeable silk threads from its guts. And sure enough, connected everything in the universe. And you all know, you've seen at some point a giant spider web in an old barn or in an attic or something. And you know, if the light's not on it, you can hardly see it. You might even run into it. But when the light's on it, oh my God, it's like this golden tapestry. Well, just like that, the Great Spirit, like the sun, leaned over and could see all the threads that the worm had spun, connecting everything. And the Great Spirit said, "Thank you, little worm, you have saved us. Not by being brilliant or brave, but by being true to your nature. I will let you live forever." Well, the little worm was taken aback. And the Great Spirit could see this and said, "Don't you want to live forever?" The little worm said, "Oh, Father, I fear so many years if I can't grow." And the Great Spirit was surprised at even the wisdom of one of his smallest creatures. And he said, "Very well, little worm, I will give you this ability to spin all these threads around yourself. And when you can stop squirming and spinning and threading long enough, you will know the lightness of being that I know. Go." And the little worm inched to the nearest leaf and began to spin the very first cocoon, and in time became the first butterfly. So I love that anonymous ancient story. And I love it because, for me, what stands out in it is he spins the threads that connect everything from his guts. What does that mean? Well, to me, what it means is we must process through presence and meaning. When we do real inner work, that's not navel-gazing, that's not self-indulgent. That work is what holds everything together. Relationship. You know, in 300 BC, there was a Chinese philosopher by the name of Mencius, M-E-N-C-I-U-S. Wonderful, heart-centered guy, from what we know from his writings. And he believed that human beings were innately kind, and the way he expressed it, he had this beautiful image. He said, if water allowed its true nature, will always flow downhill and join other water. We can manipulate water to go sideways, we can dam it, we can even make it go up before coming down. But allowed its true nature, it'll always flow and join. He said, so too human beings. We can manipulate each other or manipulate ourselves to be unkind. But allowed our true nature, we will flow to each other and join. And I think the challenge of our day, and every day, but it's our turn, is to stay in relationship and be kind. But that's a real personal thing. How do we do that? So, there's a Lakota saying, another Native American tradition, that goes, the longest journey you will make in your life is from your head to your heart. The longest journey you will make in your life is from your head to your heart. And how we practice presence and meaning and relationship help us personalize that. Help us personalize that journey. So there are two short stanzas of mine I want to share, and then one more story, and close with a poem. The poems that when I write, writing is really, from the heart, is really listening and taking notes. And so, the reward for, and I share this because it's not just about writing, but the reward for being authentic is we get insight. So I don't know what these mean until I retrieve them, and then they become my teachers. And here are two such, just a stanza each. The first is, the mystery is that whoever shows up when we dare to give has exactly what we need hidden in their trouble. The mystery is that whoever shows up when we dare to give has exactly what we need hidden in their trouble. Another amazing gift of relationship. And the second is about learning. And it's just a few lines, and it goes, those who wake are the students, those who stay awake are the teachers. How we take turns. How we take turns. So the final story is more of a contemporary story. I had a dear friend who was a mentor and a friend. He died a few years ago at 102. His name was Joel Elkes. He was a child of the Holocaust. He was a doctor. He was a watercolorist. He was an amazing man. I met him when he was 80, and I thought, gee, I don't know how long we'll have to be friends. And we had 22 years. It was amazing. But this is a story about his parents, which he told me, because they both were in Auschwitz, and his father died, but his mother survived. And in her later years, and this is often, you'll hear this about people who've been through such horrible things, she never talked about it, and then one day, all of a sudden, she talked about it as if they'd always talked about it. And she said to him, there were two things that helped me through those horrible days. She said, one was that every day she carried a broken piece of crust of bread somewhere on her person, in case during the day she met someone more in need than her. And the second was, one of the only possessions she had was a broken piece of comb. And every night before bed, she would comb her hair, not to look pretty, but to affirm her person. I count this as a modern myth. And in it, I ask you, as you go away today, to think this week about what is it that you carry every day, what small thing, in case sometime during the day you meet someone more in need than you. And what do you do, one gesture, morning or night, to affirm your person? This is a way, these two things might be one way to start practicing heart work, to be a spirit in the world. So let me close with this small poem of mine called Free Fall. If you have 1 hour of air and many hours to go, you must breathe slowly. If you have 1 arm's length and many things to care for, you must give freely. If you have 1 chance to know God and many doubts, you must set your heart on fire. We are blessed. Each day is a chance. We have 2 arms. Fear wastes air. Thank you, thank you. Would you rise as you're comfortably able? And join me in a round of appreciation. We are so grateful, Mark, that you were with us and with our community this weekend. Thank you. Beloveds, as we head out into a new week, go forth with that longing in your heart for that deeper well, that well of presence, that presence that exists without aggression, without judgment, without imposing frustration on others. Go out seeking the meaning that your soul, that your essence longs for, that gives you the sense of possibility that you need, that each and every one of us needs in our world needs, the possibility that allows us to stop and notice the beauty that is constantly around us, even as we navigate difficulties and trouble. Go forth into this new week, knowing that you are held in the dear and beloved relationship of this community, and a community of seekers who are seeking to live with that level of depth of presence and meaning making in their lives, just like you. Go forth in that embrace, in the love of community, the care of one another, until we are together again. Go in love, go in peace. Blessed be.